When the Saw DLC was released, questions from the community started arising almost immediately. Some people were unhappy that instead of John Kramer or Hoffman as the chapter killer, they got Amanda, while others pointed out that Amanda's power wasn't true to the source material, cause she never used reverse bear traps in the movies. And I wish I could say that it was the only issue with her power at the release, but unfortunately it's not true. To start with, as a stealth killer, the old pig surprisingly had trouble staying stealthy. The main reason for this was that before patch 3.3.1, the crouch mode didn't grant her the undetectable status effect, which means that survivors could easily track her through their aura reading perks. The most devastating of them was of course the old object of obsession, which used to reveal the killer's aura practically map-wide when you looked in their direction while also being outside of their terror radius. Yeah, I can see you. I can see you when you're crouching, bro! What the hell? Bro, isn't this broken? Like, what? She's like slower too, and you're about a volt? Okay, never mind. Bro, like it. Oh my god, this is impossible, bro. Okay, going straight, bro. Like I don't know, man. This is broken. She's not a stealth. Like she wasn't a stealth killer. Second, originally when the pig switched to the ambush mode, her terror radius used to take much longer to fade out, 6.6 seconds to be exact. And if this number just struck you as something absolutely obnoxious, you're not alone here, because it was exactly my reaction. In fact, the idea of spending almost 7 seconds in order to hide your terror radius seemed so unhinged to me that my brain literally refused to believe it until I saw this myself. Yeah, get up. Can you stand up? Stand up? Yeah. Let's do this again. Crouch. Yeah, like this. Well, it says like 6.2. Well, assuming that I probably mistimed the click. Yeah, I guess it's like 6.6. So basically, if you wanted to sneak up on a survivor without being detected too early, you had to start crouching way in advance, because otherwise they would hear your lingering terror radius and reposition before you could even see them. Moreover, back then the pig could compromise her own stealth by simply searching a locker, because for some reason the devs made it so that it broke her out of the ambush mode. Come on, bro, disappear. It's still there, bro. Finally, okay. Open it. Open, yeah. And it's back. That's... I don't know, that's strange. Why did they do it like this? Another problem of the old pig was her long crouching animation. At the release it used to last 2 seconds, which wasn't that big of a deal if you were outside of the chase where speed didn't matter as much. But during the chase it was a whole different ballgame. No, it wasn't like with the first version of the Trapper or Hag where their trap setting animation was so long it literally allowed survivors to run away to a different map. But having to spend 2 seconds every time you wanted to perform an ambush attack in the loop made the pig feel so clumsy. I swear Behavior should have named her the Sloth instead. Like, loops even on the old game are kind of broken. No way, bro. Is this actually how long she takes? Let me try that again. Oh my god. This is... Honestly, man... wow. Honestly, like, this animation... This is something you would expect from, like, a 90 years old dude. Not like an actual, agile, young lady. Bro, like, honestly, would it kill them to, like, make her crouch as fast as Ghostface? Would it be, like, that game-breaking? Additionally, back in the day, the pig's reverse bear traps barely fulfilled their purpose as the inbuilt gen slowdown. It happened because the devs didn't think through the mechanic which determined after how many attempts survivors could remove the traps. The general principle behind it goes like this. At the start of every match, the game sets the overall number of jigsaw boxes survivors need to search through in order to find the keys for all the pig's traps. Then this number is randomly split between the number of these traps, and that's how each of them knows when to give survivors the key. The problem was that before patch 6.0, the minimum number of box searches per trial was 4, which divided by 4 traps the pig had by default gave 1. Meaning that in this case, every single one of your traps could be removed on the first try, regardless of which survivor it was and which jigsaw box they chose to go to. So much for slowdown. Can we get it on the first attempt, bro? Finally! The RNG gods heard me. You know what would be cool? If we actually had, like, more survivors and all of them went to, like, their own jigsaw boxes and all of them would be able to like get rid of the traps simultaneously. That would be a cool clip. Quick note here, after reading the pigs patch notes another time, I started doubting that I got all this trap math right, because this is super complicated and there is no straightforward explanation of how it used to work originally. So if you're watching this video and you've noticed some mistakes, or you know something that I don't know, feel free to correct me in the comments. The maximum possible number of box search attempts per trial was 16. In this case, removing each trap would require survivors to go through 4 jigsaw boxes, and this is where the got real, because the original pig had only 4 jigsaw boxes and not 5 like today, which means that she could force a bear trap kill by body blocking 1 random jigsaw box. This way it became impossible to interact with, leaving the trapped survivor with only 3 searchable boxes, which, as you can understand, wasn't enough to get rid of the trap. So if you ended up on the receiving end of this bolt, you were pretty much f***ed, because sooner or later your teammates would start fixing gens, which would set off the trap countdown and eventually kill you. Personally, I learned about this exploit the hard way. It happened right at the release. I got into a match versus a pretty popular streamer who was playing as the pig. Long story short, they teamed up with one of the survivors in order to make the rest of us gamble and see if we could find the keys for our traps in the first 3 boxes. Those of us who got lucky were allowed to escape, and those that weren't had to face a slow death from the reverse bear trap. And while I do admit that it was pretty creative, because we were basically suggested to play a game just like in the movie, it was also super frustrating, to the point that I was literally on the verge of rage quitting. As a survivor, the only way to not die in this situation was to try and escape through the hatch, because the hatch doesn't make traps trigger. And so theoretically, if you had about 2 or 3 gens left and the entire team was actually working on them at the same time, you could deny the pig what she thought was a guaranteed kill. Can you hear anything?
I find
Where?
metal wagon.
Yeah, oh, the car, you mean the car. Yeah, there it is, Bro, honestly, I could barely hear it. Well, I guess that's how you did it. There you go. But like, the thing is that we had only 1 gen left. Imagine if you had to go through like 4 or like maybe all 5. Yeah, like, I don't think you would be able to make it, because the timer is just too fast. By the way, people, we've still got like half of the killer roster to go. I've already started making plans for the Myers and Clown videos, and soon I'm gonna be showcasing all of their versions too. So if you don't want to miss it, make sure to drop me a sub right now. Like, literally right fucking now, or else behavior is gonna nerf the pig even more or something. Another annoying aspect of the old traps was that they didn't allow survivors to escape through the exit gates even if they were inactive, because as soon as they passed through the doorway, the trap triggered and instantly killed them, as if the timer just ran out. Attach the trap. Now you need to wiggle. You need to wiggle. Wait, what? I hear the beeping sound, but like nothing's happening. Oh, I guess it's gonna kill you when you wiggle off. Let's see. Are you gonna die? Yeah. Well, bad luck, bro. So if you went down to a pig during the endgame and she happened to have 1 extra trap for you, your chances of surviving were slim, because even if you somehow powered through her tunnel, you would still have to do the trap before you could escape, and at that point she knew where to look for you. Reverse bear traps aside, the original pig had several more features that made her look better compared to her modern version. For example, she had a smaller terror radius of 28 meters. I know that by today's standards it might seem weird, because normally a small terror radius is something that you would expect from slow killers like the Huntress, but in the case with the pig, I think it was justified, considering that she was designed to be a stealth killer. Next, until patch 3.1.0, the pig's ambush attacks were considered basic attacks, which means that by performing them, she could take advantage of such perks as Franklin's Demise, Sloppy Butcher, yada yada yada, but most importantly, NOED. Whoa, don't, wait, we're testing NOED. Boom. Yeah, 1 shot. I guess it was a basic attack. And on top of it all, the release version of the pig had a faster speed while carrying survivors on her shoulder. It was 3.85 meters per second, which is about 4% faster than other killers. Unfortunately though, it was not intended. The thing is that the pig's code was mostly copy-pasted from the Huntress out of all killers. And since her movement speed is 4.4 meters per second, she uses a special modifier that makes her carry survivors at the same speed as her 4.6 counterparts. And so when the devs were pushing the pig Pig on the live servers, they simply forgot to remove this modifier in order to adjust for the fact that she was actually a 4.6 killer. Therefore, for almost 2 years, Pig players could benefit from this oversight, even though most of them probably didn't even realize it. Now I'll just do the same thing. Just pick me up and like carry me around the map. Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know if I can tell the difference. I mean, 4% bonus is not that fast, but like... Yeah, I don't know how to measure it properly. Most of the add-ons the Pig had at the release weren't super different from what they do today. 6 of them, namely Shattered Syringe, Utility Blades, Face Mask, Slow Release Toxin, Amanda's Secret, and Rule Set Number 2 had exactly the same properties, except for Rule Set Number 2 used to be ultra rare. 6 more had slightly different values. Among them are Combat Straps, which used to make crouching and uncrouching faster in order to account for how slow these animations used to be by default. Rusty Attachments, which used to apply Mangle not only to injured but also healthy survivors. Not sure if there was any point in this considering that Mangled is all about the healing speed penalty, but apparently it was a thing. Bag of Gears, which used to provide a lower speed bonus to the trap setting animation. Crate of Gears, which used to give a higher penalty to the Jigsaw box surge speed. Amanda's Ladder, which used to have a smaller aura reading range, reduced the number of traps by 3 and the number of Jigsaw boxes by 2. But most importantly, Tempered Timer. Originally, this add-on used to speed up the trap death timer by a whopping 30 seconds. This is 10 seconds faster than in the live version, and considering that by default traps take 2 minutes and 30 seconds to trigger, survivors had only 120 seconds to find the right Jigsaw box. Having to deal with this add-on was pretty butt-clenching even on its own. And now imagine what it was like if the Pig also brought an extra Jigsaw box add-on or something else that had synergy with Tempered Timer. Can I make it? Can I make it? Can I make it? Please, 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 please. Let's just fast forward this one. No, I'm not gonna make it, bro. Oh my god. Yeah, well, I was in the middle of it. And like, you have to understand that I had like more time than in a real match, because in a real match, I just wouldn't be able to run from one box to another safely because the killer would always be in the way. The remaining 8 add-ons had either completely different effects or the effects that today can be found in other add-ons. John's Medical File used to increase the charge speed of ambush attacks. Interlocking Razor used to increase the penalty after missed Jigsaw box skill checks. Workshop Grease and Razor Wires used to increase the frequency of Jigsaw box skill checks. Last Will used to give 1 extra trap. Jigsaw's Annotated Plan and Jigsaw Sketch used to spawn extra Jigsaw boxes, and Videotape used to increase the charge speed of ambush attacks and decrease the cooldown after missed ambush attacks. All in all, the original Pig was a bit of a disappointment, at least for those who were expecting to get an actual game-changing killer. Almost immediately after her release, the DBD forums and socials were flooded with an insane amount of comments pointing out that her power was a joke and that the devs had to do something in order to get her to a somewhat playable level. However, none of the community's complaints were heard, and for about a year, with the exception of some minor bug fixes, the Pig remained practically unchanged. But surprisingly, during this time, her popularity didn't diminish even in the slightest. Not sure if it was something about her design or gameplay, or maybe the fact that she made it possible for killers to teabag for the first time in the history of DBD, but one thing was clear: people really didn't want her to fail like many of her predecessors. Can you do like the oink sound? Yeah, there you go. That's ladies and gentlemen, what you do if you're too lazy to teabag. That's like another way of BMing. Unfortunately, the only tool Pig mains had to help their favorite character stay relevant was camping. But hey, at least it was something the Pig was actually good at, because her stealth ability didn't only allow her to intercept survivors at the hook, but also very conveniently countered one of the most powerful anti-tunneling perks survivors had at that time, namely Borrowed Time. The thing is that before patch 4.7.0, it used to activate only if the survivor was unhooked within the killer's terror radius, and because Pig's stealth ability lets her completely get rid of her terror radius, Borrowed Time was completely useless against her. It was especially frustrating considering that literally a month after Pig's release, this perk was reworked into having an unlimited number of uses per match, which was supposed to de-incentivize camping and tunneling. Damn, the devs were f***ing naive. As I've already mentioned, the first year for the Pig was really rough. Basically, there were only 2 updates which fixed the bugs, causing her to vault slower than other killers and have a louder footstep audio. But even these changes happened not because the devs wanted wanted to help the pig specifically, but rather because the vaulting and footstep bugs were both common issues for a number of killers, and Behavior just bulk fixed them in patches 2.0.0 and 2.3.0. In the early 2019, the pig received her first set of more or less substantial updates. Patch 2.5.0 made her crouching animation almost 1 second faster and reduced her terror radius fade out after crouching to 4 seconds. It wasn't exactly groundbreaking, but at least now the game didn't punish the pig for using her basic mechanics. Come on, crouch. Uncrouch. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I know that it's supposed to be faster, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure, bro. Also, in this patch, the pig's terror radius was increased to 32 meters in order to standardize it to that of other 4.6 killers, and in my opinion, it was one of her most undeserved nerfs ever. Later in the spring of the same year, along with the introduction of the endgame collapse, Behavior made it so that pig's traps no longer kill survivors when attempting to escape through the exit gates. This was achieved by making gen completion to be the only condition for activating the trap death timer. In other words, starting from patch 2.7.0, trapping survivors after the endgame collapse was initiated became entirely pointless, because at that point all it was good for was just farming some extra deviousness points. About to wiggle off. Alright, let's check that. Yeah, it's safe. I can get out. This of course didn't apply to survivors trapped before the last gen was finished, because in this case the trap would technically be activated before the endgame collapse, and going through the doorway would still make their head explode. And don't get me wrong, at its core it was a healthy change, because now during the endgame, pig's traps did make survivors want to rage quit and format their PC. But on the other hand, it was already the second time the devs took something away from the already weak pig without giving anything in return. This tendency continued in patch 3.1.0, where the pig's ambush attack lost its status as a basic attack, which ultimately removed its synergy with a huge amount of popular perks. Okay, hold up. Know it, hold up. Well, yeah, they nerfed it. Doesn't work with ambush attacks anymore. In patch 3.2.1, the developers finally removed the extra speed modifier for carrying survivors from the pig's code and matched her carrying speed to that of other killers. And even though she was never supposed to have the increased carrying speed in the first place, taking it away from her was technically still a nerf. And at that point, the pig became a meme. You know how people spam nerf pig whenever they see Behavior post literally anything on their socials? That's when this joke originated, as an attempt to draw the devs' attention to the disastrous state the pig was in. Basically, since patch 2.5.0 and all the way to 5.3.0, the pig had only two positive changes. The first one adjusted the speed curves for crouching and uncrouching, and the second updated her stealth mode with the undetectable status effect, making her immune to aura reading perks while crouching. Next, in late 2021, the pig received an add-on pass, reworking about half of her add-ons. And honestly, people, I don't know what to think about it. I mean, it was cool that the pig finally got some attention from the devs, but at the same time I can't say that the new add-ons got me very excited, because I just don't see the global idea behind them. To me, most of them seem like a random pile of properties and prerequisites that I just can't figure out how to marry up with each other. Not that it was much different before the rework, but at least back then there was still hope that the devs would do something cool about the old add-ons in the future. But now this hope is gone, because this future is already here, and it's not very bright. Along with the add-on pass, the game was expanded with the Hour of the Witch DLC, which introduced the infamous boon totems. And take a wild guess what could go wrong here. Of course, snuffing them absolutely had to break the pig out of her stealth. It's like, dude, at this point, is there anything the devs can do that wouldn't result in the pig becoming even weaker? The biggest change the pig had so far came out in patch 6.0.0, which reworked the key finding logic. Now there were 12 guaranteed box searches split between 4 reverse bear traps, which on the one hand made it so that survivors could no longer remove them too fast, leaving you without your power for the rest of the match, and on the other hand prevented the situations where each trap would make survivors go through all 4 jigsaw boxes. Speaking of which, there were now 5 of them, with the 4th one always guaranteeing survivors the key for their trap. This change made it impossible for the pig to body block the last box and thus force a bear trap kill. And once again, even though this change was 100% justified, it was yet another nerf. About 7 months ago, the devs finally acknowledged the problem with the inconsistency of the pig's pig's ambush mode and made her remain crouched and keep the suppressed terror radius after snuffing boon totems. I wouldn't recommend quoting me on this, but I think it was also during this period that she was allowed to search lockers without leaving the ambush mode. And as far as I know, right now there's only one action which still makes the pig automatically uncrouch and have the terror radius back, which is opening the exit gates. Oh? Pig? Well, yeah, it automatically made you get up, so basically it just reveals your terror radius. Which is weird. Improved stealth was definitely a nice feature, and I seriously want to believe that this buff was just the first step towards making the pig an actually viable killer that would be interesting to play both as and against. But let's just face it, at this point, even having Demogorgon back is a more likely scenario than this.